Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Temple Buddhist Center's weekly Sunday meditation service. My name is Victor, and I'm honored to be of service this morning. We want to also welcome all of our friends and family members joining us from around the world over our live stream. We hope that this morning's service finds each and every one of you happy and healthy, thriving. However, please know that if you are struggling in any way, we hope the Temple Buddhist Center, its service, its teachings, and its Sangha can be a source of refuge for you as we open our hearts to you and to your loved ones. Let's begin this morning's service with a little bit of conscious breathing. Conscious breath is where we take a deep breath in through the nose, hold that breath for just a moment or two, and then release slowly so that the exhale is longer than the inhale. Let's begin. Holding that breath for just a moment, feeling the fullness of the lungs, and then releasing slowly in sort of a metered fashion. And as you release, notice the body becoming more gentle, easy, relaxed. The shoulders drop, the forehead releases, the eyebrows unfurl, the jaw unclenches. As we become more relaxed, more able to be present as the body releases. And a second conscious breath together, holding for a moment, and releasing. And as you release, giving yourself full permission to unplug from that energy of going and doing, striving, efforting, accomplishing, as we cultivate together the energy of being, that energy that requires nothing of us and is a boundless, endless source of vitality, life essence. And a third conscious breath together. Releasing. And as you release, bringing into your awareness the present moment. There is only this, and then there is everything else. The present moment might seem like a small increment of time, but it actually has no beginning and no ending, and we are always arriving in the here and the now. And so here at Temple Buddhist Center, we like to begin our service with a little bit of chanting. Chanting is an integral part of every tradition. Chanting is not about being a singer, it's about having a voice. It is about a deeply devotional expression of what is most sacred within you and sharing that with the world. Our chant this morning is Namo Amitabha Hamsa Hamsa. Namo Amitabha Hamsa Hamsa. And this is a chant in the Buddhist tradition that honors the Buddha of limitless light, that energy of the enlightened mind and that expression of love, light, and wellness that each one of us is, a beacon, if you will, in a world that is sometimes overflowing with suffering. And so, Namo Amitabha Hamsa Hamsa. And so I will invite Rochelle to tone us in as we take a conscious breath together. And let's begin. Namo Amitabha Hamsa Hamsa. 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 With a smile. Namo Amitabha Hamsa Hamsa. Namo Amitabha Hamsa Hamsa. Once more. Namo Amitabha Hamsa Hamsa. Here at Temple Buddhist Center, we practice Western Buddhism. Western Buddhism is a blend of Eastern philosophy and Western psychology. And this new and exciting form of spirituality is dynamic, it's growing and changing with us, with our culture, with our new understanding each and every day of how this mind-body organism works. It is also inclusive, it is active, and it focuses on core Buddhist insights as well as mindfulness, meditation, and their practical applications in our daily lives. Our goal here is not to get everyone to agree on a specific lineage or philosophy or sect of Buddhism, but rather it is on a shared experience of mindfulness, oneness, and love. Whether we are chanting together, sharing from the heart, or spending time in noble silence, we respect that you will participate at a level that is comfortable for you. We take refuge in the three jewels and acknowledge these core values as expressions of the awakened mind, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. We value awareness of our Buddha nature, as well as the Buddha nature of all beings, bringing a fresh new perspective to each and every encounter. And the second jewel, the Dharma, the truth teachings that release us from fear, delusion, and help us to realize the true nature of who we are. And finally, our Sangha, our spiritual community, where we come together to help each other with the practice itself and to help each other along every step of the path. So let's take a moment now to silence any cell phones, electronic devices, and if you're at home, anything you need to do to prepare an atmosphere or your surroundings for contemplation and meditation. We're going to begin with the prayer of refuge. We will recite this 3 times for the 3 jewels. The prayer is up here on the screen and also on your screen at home. Together, in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, we go for refuge until fully awakened through the power of generosity, ethics, patience, enthusiastic effort, concentration, and wisdom. For the sake of all beings, may we realize and demonstrate our innate goodness. In Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, we go for refuge until fully awakened through the power of generosity, ethics, patience, enthusiastic effort, concentration, and wisdom. For the sake of all beings, may we realize and demonstrate our innate goodness. In Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, we go for refuge until fully awakened through the power of generosity, ethics, patience, enthusiastic effort, concentration, and wisdom. For the sake of all beings, may we realize and demonstrate our innate goodness. And so, as we prepare now for a time in meditation, if you have an extensive practice, then we invite you to practice in a way that is fitting for you this morning. If, however, you are new to meditation, we're going to begin with a dedication of intention. We will awaken the bell 3 times for the 3 jewels. Our teacher today, Mr. Robert Brumet, will then guide us through a brief guided meditation that is designed to assist you in moving into the stillness. We will spend approximately 10 to 12 minutes this morning connecting with each other in silence, in stillness. Afterwards, Robert will bring us out of meditation. We will sound the return bell, and then it will be time for today's Dharma talk, or teaching. And so with that, let's take a conscious breath together. Body, speech, and mind in perfect oneness. I send my heart along with the sound of the bell. May the hearers awaken from forgetfulness, transcend the path of anxiety and sorrow, and realize the true nature of who they are.
As we listen to the sound of the bell fade off into the silence, just allow your body to relax, your mind to become clear. And your heart to begin to open. With each breath that we take, feel the body relaxing. Feel the face relax, the shoulders, and the arms, the neck and the back, softening the belly. Allowing the body to relax, and yet we sit tall, we sit awake. Finding that posture where the body feels centered, relaxed, and alert. Feeling the breath, feeling the belly move, perhaps the chest move. Feeling the air through the nostrils, becoming intimate with each breath that is taken. And as the body relaxes, let the mind become naturally still. We don't coerce it. We simply notice our thoughts and do nothing at all. Like clouds in the sky, we let them drift by. We let the mind become like a clear pool of water. And like a lotus blossom in that pond, we allow the heart to open. Breath by breath. We hold the awareness gently on the breath. If it's pulled away by thinking, by telling some narrative, some story, just notice the mind wanting to intervene and do nothing but come back to the breath. And noticing that each breath takes place only in the present moment, right here and right now. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. And now, at this time, I invite you to become aware of your body, sitting in the chair or on the cushion. Just notice the sensations, the feelings in the body. Become aware of your arms and your legs, your hands and your feet. Feel the contact with the floor, the chair, the cushion. And then we broaden our awareness to include hearing. Just relaxing and opening to sound. And in a moment, you'll hear the sound of the bell. I invite you to become very aware of the sound of the bell as it rises and falls. And as the sound of the bell falls into the silence, I invite you to then slowly, gently open your eyes, becoming aware of seeing, returning to our open eyes world, fully awake, fully present in the body, with a clear mind and an open heart. Here's the sound of the bell. Well, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
And happy June, right? Isn't this the first Sunday of June? It's always something to celebrate. The title of my talk this morning is Waking Up and Growing Up. We study the teachings of the Buddha, and Buddha is really a title. It wasn't his name. His name was Siddhartha Gautama. He became the Buddha, which means one who is awake. So the name Buddha itself means awakened. And in one sense, that's really the intention of this practice, is to awaken, as the Buddha was awakened. Sometimes people say, what does it mean to be awake or to be, quote, enlightened? And my response is, I don't know. And if I did know, I couldn't tell you, because it can't be put into words. It's beyond words and thoughts. But basically it means seeing more clearly and seeing reality more directly. In the world of the Buddha, the world was seen as a veil, Maya, M-A-Y-A, which means sort of magic. It's got the same root as the word magic. Also the same root as the word mama, Maya. So the world of Maya is the world that seems to be so real. And in the tradition of the Buddhism and the background that the Buddha came from, the world is not as real as it seems. And of course, today, interestingly enough, quantum scientists are telling us that very same thing from a very seemingly non-mystical perspective. So waking up is both an occurrence, which might be called a state of mind, and many of us have had those experiences of seeing something or experiencing something that's inexplicable, that's like we're in touch with a greater reality, or there's something that we know that's true, and we know it because we know it, not because we read it or somebody told us. But through direct experience, we see a greater reality. And that occurs sometimes, not always, but sometimes as we're meditating, and sometimes just spontaneously. A lot of people have that experience when they're in nature. You know, for me, it's hard not to have it when I'm out in the desert in a clear night and I look at the stars, and it just evokes that experience. So we have these awakenings, but then after a period of time, we come back to our, quote, ordinary reality. And that's what the Buddha discovered in his 6 years in the wilderness, was that he spent a lot of time having a number of awakenings, but he kept coming back to himself. The ego, as it were, did not go away. And he did all of the, I won't say all of, but he did many of the classic yoga practices of his time. Primarily Raja Yoga, which is meditation, achieving higher states of awareness through the breath, through concentration. But eventually he found a practice that awakened him seemingly permanently, forever. So there is the awakened one, which is the rare individual that's permanently awake, and then there's the many people that have had the experience or experiences of awakening. It's almost like if you lived in a high-rise and you had a friend that lived on the 100th floor in the penthouse, and you lived down on the first floor. You might visit that friend once in a while, but you don't live there because it's very expensive property. So in a way, it's much the same way. It's expensive, but not in a monetary sense. It's expensive in that what we need to let go of is expensive. It feels that way anyway. So waking up is both a state, which is a temporary thing, and some people have awakenings for days, weeks, even months. There's a number of authors that have had these experiences where they've had periods of knowing, and then maybe after weeks and months return to their, quote, normal state of being. And there are a few that have seemingly awakened permanently, and the Buddha apparently was one of those. Now, awakening is not the end of the journey. In one sense, it's the beginning of it. Because many awakened Eastern teachers came to the U.S. back in the 50s, 60s, 70s. And many of them, when they were introduced to the Western culture, became very seduced by it. And even though they were awakened in a sense that they knew a higher truth, they were not totally grounded in that truth enough that they didn't get lost in power, sex, money, the things that were not available to them in India, but in this culture are very present and very open. And many of them, that was their downfall. So I would say those kinds of folks had woke up, they were awake, but they had not grown up. That's what I want to talk about, is the difference between waking up and growing up. Jack Kornfield talks about his experience in Southeast Asia, Thailand most of the time. He was there 10 years as a monk, meditated pretty much day in and day out. And he found that he had many, many experiences of awakening, had some profound states of awareness. And then after 10 years, his teacher said, I think your work here is done for now. So he went back to New York City, which was where he was born, got a job, got into a relationship. And he was as confused as a 6-year-old kid on a street corner in Brooklyn, you know. He got lost in dysfunction, codependent. He had trouble holding on to a job. He had trouble holding on to a relationship. He didn't know what was going on. And he realized that there's a big difference between waking up in the rarefied atmosphere of a monastery in Thailand and driving a taxi cab in New York City, which was his first job. If you can stay awake driving a taxi cab in New York City, you can stay awake anywhere, I would say. So Jack writes extensively about that practice of integrating and growing up as well as waking up. He may not use that terminology, but one book after the ecstasy comes the laundry, I think. He writes a lot about that, about how the ecstasy, of course, is the awakening, and the laundry is the process of growing up. So what stands between waking up and growing up? The second step is cleaning up. Cleaning up is like doing the laundry, only it's the psychological laundry. You know, it's the laundry that isn't always pretty, doesn't always smell good. We don't always like it. It can be a lot of hard, very unglamorous work. And yet that work is what grounds the higher reality into the moment-by-moment experience of our everyday life. And that's one of the beauties of the Western practice, is here in the West we have access to a tradition of psychology that wasn't available to the Buddha, and for the most part was not available in the traditional East, in India. You know, Western psychology is only a few hundred years old. Western psychology basically starts with so-called normal people and goes downward, so to speak. It addresses pathology. And in the East, the focus was on meditation, not looking at pathology, but rather looking at awakening. So it's you just start where you are and try to go up. Now, the upside of that is it opens the door to infinite possibilities. But the downside is, a lot of times, there are wounds and there are patterns and there are unfulfilled developmental needs that do not get healed even when one is awakened. You see. My first teacher, I loved him dearly. And I saw him as an awakened being. And then he got into a relationship. And I knew his partner, and she was a beautiful person. But it was not a healthy relationship. And it was very interesting how I could see the dysfunction and the codependence and all sorts of things going on. So enlightenment doesn't guarantee that we're a complete human being, you see. And that's the beauty of the Western practice, that we have access to the psychology of the West as well as the wisdom of the East. And it's a real gift to live in these times when that is available to us. So the cleaning up is doing what might be called shadow work. And shadow, as I use the term, is just a general term meaning looking at all of the unexamined and perhaps unconscious aspects of our psyche that we have not fully healed. Shadow means that which is not conscious. It's buried, so to speak. And it's buried for a number of reasons, but one of the primary reasons is that it was too painful for us to fully experience when we were younger. It's almost like our food is not quite fully digested, like our psychic food is not fully digested. And so it makes us uncomfortable, perhaps even ill, if we don't work with it. So facing, feeling, and healing is a big part of the process of growing up. And sometimes the difficulty is that with waking up, we are in the process of letting go. You know, the Buddhist teaching says there is no self. Well, in order to really experience no self, at least on a stable, permanent basis, one has to fully embrace all aspects of the self. See, that's the great paradox, is that we can only let go of the self once we have embraced all of the self. If we try to let go of the self, we can use meditation as a spiritual bypass. And I've seen that happen many times, and I've probably done it myself many times, where one may use meditation as a way of disidentifying from something that we haven't fully acknowledged as being part of ourself. So there's a difference between disidentification and dissociation. Dissociation means we're burying something. Before we can disidentify, we need to identify. We need to acknowledge this body, this personal history, this life that I've been given. It has to be digested, so to speak. It has to be examined. Not analytically, but examined with the heart. And then, once we've made peace with this human element of ourself, we realize that we're much, much more than human. But before we can realize we're much, much more than human, we have to fully embrace our humanness. And so that is the challenge, and that is the gift that we're given here in the West, to do the Dharma in the West. Because in a way, it's much easier to do it in a monastery in India than it is in even Kansas City, driving your car on the freeway. That's something the Buddha didn't have to do, you see. So I want to close with a quote from Emerson, which I think kind of sums it all up for me. This is Ralph Waldo Emerson, by the way. It is easy in the world to live after the world's opinion. It is easy in the world to live after the world's opinion. It is easy in solitude to live after our own. But the great man, the great woman, is he, she, who in the midst of the crowd keeps with perfect sweetness the independence of solitude. So it's finding your authentic voice and being able to stay with it through thick and thin. So waking up, cleaning up, growing up, and celebrating all of it, even if it's not fun. Thank you for sharing your practice with us this morning.
Thank you so much, Robert. So let's take a moment and just embody the teachings. So often the mind wants to analyze, dissect, figure out, understand. And oftentimes just feeling the truth teachings in our hearts can be enough. It's also totally acceptable if you need to stretch or shift your posture or take a conscious breath as we move into a heart practice. Heart practice is not an intellectual, conceptual thing. Heart practice is an opening of our hearts and sharing that with the world. And so it is oftentimes accompanied with some sort of an external or an outward gesture. Some folks like to create the Anjali Mudra, which is a focusing of the heart energy and sending that out. Some people like to take their hand in sort of a soothing touch and simply place it on the heart as we move through the loving kindness practice. Others sometimes might place both hands on the heart, or even if your hands are simply cupped in your lap, all of those are acceptable as we move into loving kindness or metta practice. And so with that, let's take a conscious breath. And as you release, I invite you to bring to mind, in your mind's eye, the image of you, a full body image of the form that has been given your name, that has accrued the many experiences over the years. And holding this image in your mind's eye, silently recite these words to yourself as we open our hearts in metta practice. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be safe from inner and outer dangers. May I be well in body and mind. And may I be at ease and happy. A conscious breath. And And as you release, I invite you now to bring to mind the image of a friend of yours. Holding this image of your friend in your mind's eye, let us open our hearts as we send metta. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be safe from inner and outer dangers. May you be well in body and mind. And may you be at ease and happy. Conscious breath. And as you release that sentiment into the universe, I invite you now to bring to mind the image of an acquaintance, somebody that you have met recently, maybe a classmate or a neighbor, a clerk or a cashier. Holding this image in your mind's eye, let us open our hearts as we send to them metta. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be safe from inner and outer dangers. May you be well in body and mind. And may you be at ease and happy. Conscious breath. And as you release that sentiment into the universe, I invite you now to bring to mind the image of a difficult person in your life, a challenging person. Could be a boss, a coworker, a neighbor, classmate, or a political figure. And holding this image in your mind's eye, let us open our hearts as we send metta. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be safe from inner and outer dangers. May you be well in body and mind. And may you be at ease and happy. Conscious breath. And as you release that sentiment into the universe, I invite you now to bring to mind the image of the world, all the plants and the flowers and the trees, the animals of the land, the sea and the sky, all sentient beings. Also opening our hearts to all those who are suffering from the effects of gun violence in our country and around the world. Not only the victims, but their families, and also the perpetrators, those who are suffering so deeply that they feel the need to make the world feel their pain. Holding all of this in our mind's eye, let us open our hearts as we send to us all metta. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be safe from inner and outer dangers. May we be well in body and mind. And may we be at ease and happy. Conscious breath. And in the true spirit of dana, the Buddhist practice of generosity, temple services are given freely. In the same way, if you choose to give, please give with an open heart and a generous heart, which means not in return for anything that you have received today, but rather so that those who may be seeking refuge can find it here with these teachers in this temple, with these teachings, and with this sangha. The dana boxes are located at the back of the meditation hall. We also open our hearts in gratitude for all of our ambassadors, those folks who have committed to regular monthly electronic giving. It's not about the amount, it's that the regular monthly giving helps us to set a budget here at Temple Buddhist Center. If you'd like to become an ambassador, simply stop by our website and click on the Love Offering button. Also, tremendous gratitude for all of our wonderful volunteers. There are so many people that work tirelessly each week to bring classes, workshops, live streams, all the different media aspects of Temple Buddhist Center. Thank you so much to all of our volunteers. Out on the reception desk right outside the door are a couple of sign-up sheets for volunteering or perhaps for our newsletter. And so if you'd like any of those things, please stop by and put your email there so that we can get you involved with that. Thank you so much to Rochelle for your wonderful music. And thank you so much to Lucy and to Karen for greeting folks as they come in, for Dave for setup, and Eric, and to Liz. There's so many folks. Thank you all. Thank you especially to Mr. Robert Brumet for sharing the Dharma, your practice, your generosity, your heart. We are very blessed to have you as a part of our community here. And also, especially thank you to each and every one of you for sharing your heart, your presence, your practice with all of us here at Temple Buddhist Center, near and far. We are, of course, the better for it. And so, as we prepare now to end our time together this morning, we will recite the Bodhicitta prayer. The Bodhicitta dedication, and then I have a number of announcements for you. A bunch of things are starting to happen for the summer. So before we get to that, let's recite our Bodhicitta dedication, and then we'll sound the closing bell together. May the pure, brilliant sun of Bodhicitta dawn in each and every heart and mind, dispelling the darkness of suffering and confusion unstoppably, until all are illumined and awakened. And with the palms of our hands together in front of our hearts, as we go forth now from this place, may we enter each moment in innocence, guided by the wisdom of our hearts. And as we open our hands, open our eyes, shine our light into the world, Namaste. Thank you so much, everyone, on our Facebook page, and I think also maybe on our streaming. We have been supporting a GoFundMe site to help for some of the families and victims down in Uvalde. So you can stop there or just simply go to GoFundMe and type in the Texas Elementary School Shooting Victims Fund. This is sponsored by a vetted group, so we know that 100% of the proceeds go to those families. Also, just a quick reminder that on June 12th is the All Unity Temple Extravaganza and Picnic. There is an open buffet prepared by Chef Lisa. and there will be some activities and games for the family. Please RSVP to Kathy at unitytemple.com. And the reason for that is just because we are bringing in food. We want to get a good idea about how much food to bring in. So just RSVP to Kathy and let her know how many folks you are bringing. And also a reminder that each quarter, Temple Buddhist Center does a day-long retreat. We just came off our 4-day silent retreat, but for folks who have busy, active family lives, they're not always able to attend a 4-day silent retreat. So on Saturday, June 18th from 9 to 4, we are featuring a day-long silent meditation retreat. There will be a Dharma talk. There's sitting meditation, walking meditation, conferences with a teacher, and either yoga or Tai Chi Cha as a movement meditation. And the theme is finding presence in the midst of a suffering world. And so if you're able to come to that, the registration will open tomorrow, Monday. So if you right now you can just save the date and you'll be able to register starting this week. And other than that, today is our Helping Hands Sunday. So that means that as you leave the meditation hall, there should be some blue bags on the table out there. We invite each family to take one, keep it in your car, and as you encounter people that are experiencing homelessness on corners or on the streets, this is something that you could give to them with an open heart that contains all kinds of essential things. So that's going on. And as always, we have our Buddha and the Bean every Tuesday at 9 a.m., Buddhism and 12-Step Recovery each Sunday at 12:30. Dave leads Recovery Dharma Thursdays at 7. I'll leave this up so that you can take a picture of it. It's also available on our Facebook page and our website. A quick reminder that the Meditation 101 class, which is normally second Sundays, because of the All-Temple Extravaganza, we won't be having the Meditation 101, but it will pick up again next month. So each second Sunday, that's always available. Or you can always, our door is always open. Please email me with questions about your meditation practice or your mindfulness practice. Always happy to help. And don't forget our lending library. Poor Dave has expressed to me a desire for everybody to come and visit our lending library. It has been filling up, and it is a lot of work for Dave to get it from the robe room here and back because it's getting so heavy. So please come check out the lending library and see if there's not some Dharma you can take home with you. Thank you all so much, and as you go into your day, peace and blessings. And don't forget the post-service discussion group, which is happening at 10:15 right down the hall.